Everyone ready? Call the regular meeting, Toledo City Council for November 6, 2024 to order. First item on the agenda is our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do we have any visitors that would like to address council this evening?
We need to do a roll call.
Yes. Councilor Mix.
Here.
Councilor Kaufman.
Here.
Councilor Strong.
Here.
Councilor Sylvia.
Here.
Councilor Burns.
Here.
Council President Bush.
Here.
And I am present. Are there any visitors that would like to address council?
There is a hand raised in the audience. Let me see. Mr. Robinson, you should be able to talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is John Robinson. Yes, I'd like to address the council.
You have 3 minutes.
Well, let me say real quick,
Yes.
we need to add John Robinson. It may only take 3 minutes, but he emailed me this past week and I missed it, asking to be on the agenda for the 6th.
Okay, so John, we're going to consider you a presentation.
Okay.
So if you stray over 3 minutes, you're all right.
That was my miss, John. I apologize.
Oh, that's no problem. This won't take very long at all. So basically, I'm coming back to the council. I came to the council on April 3rd with the request to do some parking at my triplex project there across from the police station at 6th and A. And you were kind enough to generate a brand new permit. Attorney Mike Adams created it like lickety split, and Doug got it signed, and we've been going forward with that. It had a 6-month date on it, and that just finished in October. And so the reason I'm coming back is I'm not finished yet. And I had tried to previously contact Doug and then Mike to find out if I needed to come before the council or if they could just extend it another 6 months. And it sounds like I need to come back before the council. So that's why I'm presenting tonight, is to ask for an extension for another 6 months. I don't think it's going to take us that long to finish, but it would keep me from coming back again if I say I need it 3 months. So the other item that was kind of at the same time back in April when I brought this to your attention, Council President Bush had suggested, maybe we take those 3 spots and we come up with a parking permit system, and the residents that are going to be in those 3 apartments would have a spot there. And so I don't know if the council took any action in the last 6 months since that idea came up, and I just wanted to bring that up again.
We have not, John, kind of waiting for you to get that building done.
Okay.
All right, so I have added a new item on our decision items. The item is whether or not to extend parking, the parking provision at the apartments for construction.
Is there an application we're supposed to be doing for this?
We didn't do an application before
Yeah.
because no one had asked for one.
Mayor, council, we didn't do an application. We just did it under the general authority to regulate parking
Mhm.
and created a permit that really itself is the application. I've seen it, and I think with a motion of council, it would be easy for city manager pro tem to sign it. And we'd be off to the races for as long as you all approved
For the extension.
for the
For the
extension.
extension.
Right.
And if he gets it done earlier, then it would just go away.
Right,
Yeah,
because then he'd have to come back and ask us about, and then we can do the permit, and we can do the permit, then we can build a permit, because other people will probably want that also down the road, so.
So just have it be till the end of construction.
Well, no, just do it.
No, do it for the 6 months.
Six
Yeah.
months.
They don't want him to have to keep messing around here.
Because then
Well, then they'd be empty and under this
Yeah.
permit for those people to move in.
Right. So,
I don't know the best course of action, but we should probably start discussing and figuring out how that permanent permitting process would work if
right,
they were attached to.
and that should be a part of a work session
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah.
And work on, I mean, we actually probably should be looking at what are our parking regulations and do a whole.
And I can get some
Review.
examples, because I use the reference of Phoenix down by the stadium.
Mhm.
Those neighborhoods down there all have parking for all the neighborhood, and no one else can use it during events and different times. Like, I think at night, if you have people come and visit, they can park there, but
Can we add this to a discussion item in a future meeting?
Yes, well, that's what I meant, have it
Yeah.
a workshop
During
and have the whole
work
thing
session.
as the parking,
Okay.
for lack of better, re-looking at our parking ordinances.
All right.
We're gonna do it just in the decision.
But tonight,
later
a
for
decision
extended-
item just on this particular thing.
They have
Okay.
6-month permit.
All right.
That's fine.
So stick around, John, you'll have your answer.
Thank you.
All right. Any other visitors, public comment?
See, if there's anyone else online who would like to address the council, please raise your hand and you will be recognized. I see no hands raised, Mayor.
All right. Next item is consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to
hold on.
accept the.
Gonna make an amendment to the executive session notes. Second line, it states, Council President Kim Bush called the
I saw
executive
that.
session, and then it says he read the declaration. So it just needs to have the typo fixed.
Okay, so as amended,
That's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
so I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to accept the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Been moved by Tracy, seconded by Jackie to accept the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the meeting held April 17th, 2024, work session held August 28th, 2024, the meeting held September 4th, 2024, and the executive session held July 17th, 2024, as amended. I'll take a roll call vote. Counselor Strom,
Yes.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia,
Yes, sir.
Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Mix.
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion carries 7-0. Discussion items, sign hanging policy,
Yes.
assuming, yes.
Mayor, council, that's me. So we had Lisa Watson from the Railroad Museum reach out to our planning department asking permission to hang a banner on the Memorial Field fence. She forwarded that along to me. I was asking staff, are there rules? Is there a past precedent? And to staff's knowledge, not only do we not have any rules or policies in place that address that, but we don't believe anyone has ever asked permission. Of course, we do see banners hanging on that fence regularly. So with that in mind, I did not want to make a decision and just allow without any, guidance, somebody to hang a sign, because that kind of opens the door for anyone. So with that being said, I wanted to bring to council, is there a desire by council to direct staff to create a policy addressing whether or not signs or banners are allowed to be hung on the fence, when and how, what signs, similar to what we did at the junctions?
I would think that should be something.
I mean, it's city property.
It's city
It
property.
sounds to me like that's another just cleaning house and
It is.
protecting ourselves.
But we always have done it this way. Until the Timber Unity sign had to come down. Oh, my God, not them. Oh, gee.
So if you created the policy, then it would just
That one wasn't allowed to
be
stay.
that, oh, okay, if it's for the football team, baseball team, whatever, it's gonna go on down there. And it would be only for that particular area, or did you wanna make it just inclusive of other parts of town?
Well, that's decision for council.
Yeah,
Do you want to only address
discussion.
the fence specifically, or do we want to address
For hanging large-
citywide on city property?
And for hanging large banners on
All of the
any
above.
city property should
We
be
need rules.
combined into one
We
big
do.
bulk thing. That way, if somebody wants to hang up a big thing on city property, they gotta come see the city first.
Yeah,
mean, their own property is one thing.
There's other areas of town that could and have had banners put on them. So that if they wanted to do it, they could come see the permitting process and we would know the sizes and such on there.
Yes.
Well, and it would, much like the policy out on the east and west junction, it would have to comply with state and federal.
Yeah.
First Amendment.
And probably time
Content
limits.
data.
Oh, you're getting lawyery again.
Oh, yeah.
So then here's my question about that. Are we gonna make,
Current content.
are we gonna make the railroad wait to put a sign up then? Because, you know,
And
I don't
this
know.
was, this particular sign she requested, and I did print off a copy that she emailed me. So you all
The
can see.
railroad has had a sign on that
This
fence.
isn't the railroad sign that she's specifically asking for.
tell her no, we want
Yeah.
green with pink edging.
As far as policy and such on there, you could direct certain sizes
Yeah,
and the amount of time
So-
that they could last. Because
yes,
there's some signs that just get on there and then they just kind
Yeah.
of deteriorate.
yeah.
So that would be
It would help us
Suggest-
address that.
to have that in there.
So the sign is
So-
basically railroad safety is what it is.
So this, Lisa described it as, she said, it's for an organization that she is an authorized volunteer for. It's called Operation Lifesaver.
Yeah,
She said it's a really great organization and the mission is to prevent track tragedies.
yes.
She said she's an authorized volunteer and other volunteers at the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society are currently completing the training to become authorized. She said an authorized Operation Lifesaver volunteer is obligated to promote railroad safety by performing 2 annual events such as safety demonstrations or attending community events. So it is a good organization, but again, not wanting to make a decision with no rules in place.
Could we move to let her put that sign up?
I would think that since in the past, other people have put signs up there, and if they get tattered, then we should be able to take them down. But putting this one up, I don't see any problem with personally.
I do,
Go ahead, Jackie.
I do
Yeah.
see a problem with it. Because it's busy. Everything else that's been there. So I think that it needs to hang on the bank side rather than the heavy intersection side. Because all of those banners are quick read. You can see what you need to see in a second. That one is a little involved.
It is.
And don't put it at
And I
railroad
think-
crossings,
Well, there-
'cause, like I would stop to read
There you
it.
go.
Well, I think that
There
it,
you go.
it's
Getting
gonna be-
into the policy of size.
I know, I
But then you
agree.
go into the policy of, oh, we don't like the content.
But I think it's a
So
safety issue.
If we get the Kumbaya Club coming over here, we don't like Kumbayas. we
I'm
can
not
say no to them.
Content, because I totally agree with the sign hanging. It needs to
Hang.
hang.
Is the city council.
I'm saying for safety reasons.
And
What do you think, chief?
Second,
Have you seen the sign?
I've not seen the sign, no.
yeah.
I do know what you're
I
saying.
think you can allow it,
The same
and when
thing.
they.
To me, when we talked about anti-suicide
What?
signage on the bridge,
Yeah.
it has to be like,
They have
it
to
has
have
to
a-
be somewhere where walking on the bridge can see it, but the cars can't see it.
Right.
It's-
It's too busy.
Yeah.
You're trying to read it.
Well,
So I think it would be unsafe on that busy intersection side, because you'd be trying to read the sign instead of watching traffic or pedestrians.
So
Yeah.
here's one of the issues we run into with the fence. During baseball seasons, or I don't, during different sports
Yeah.
seasons, you get the team sponsors, you see those signs all the way around. So there are logistics and details that we need to work through. Allowing, duration type of signs, processes to work out. I don't see a problem currently with allowing this one, but we do need to develop a rule and process going forward.
I think it definitely needs to be hanging somewhere.
But they're liable. If somebody's reading it and then they have a crash, then it's on the railroad.
No, it's not on the railroad.
It's not.
Yeah, it's gonna be on them.
It's our
They put the sign up. Hey, that sign out there on Highway 20, try to figure that out when you're driving through the intersection. You're looking at, oh, God, there's something.
Remember when we had the Mona Lisa on the side of the hill?
Oh,
They made him
that
take
was
it down.
a problem.
They made him take it down because there were too many
If they put
rear ends.
in the policy, if it becomes an issue that is very, very distracting and it's the drivers,
So,
we can make them take it down.
so one of the things we need to look at is any city property, putting up signs. Okay, that has to be part of the sign code.
We need a sign policy.
We do, we need a sign policy because currently there are none, so there's nothing stopping anyone from hanging
So
anything.
within that, some parameters we need to address is timeliness. So in other words, if I'm that's Gillette Cityville Toledo, that's the Youth Baseball Association. If I'm baseball, softball, if I'm them, then they would have priority during their season, which runs from X to Y. For the,
It's a big
oh,
fence.
it's just so, I know it is. But realize, okay, also for the summer. We have the Chamber of Commerce down there with, so they need to have signage space available. Summerfest needs to have signage space available, but it's not just Memorial Field,
It's not.
okay? That particular sign, if there's a way to put it up down by the mill, that would be awesome. Cause that stinking intersection
Yeah,
between Butler Bridge Road and East Slope is a joke,
yeah.
okay? I'm not even.
That'd be a
talking
good spot for
about-
it because you're sitting
Exactly,
at the.
so
They're driving too fast, they can't see it.
we know that's part of the problem.
That's why you have to wait at that
But
intersection.
that
A long time you
Pointing
could
to the
read the sign.
But make sure it's for all city property, not just
These are-
limited to Memorial Field.
And these are temporaries.
Right,
Yeah.
temporary,
Because we already have sign
we
ordinance.
already have a sign ordinance, this is for, yeah.
But that ordinance is only for the junctions.
Does that,
Yeah, the ordinance we have is
It's
on.
No, no.
specific to the three junctions.
we have a sign ordinance,
We do,
we do.
for downtown businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
we do.
Out on the highway.
When I had
Highway
Holy.
20 For those three.
When I had Holy,
That's what eyes were-
I got hit with the
We
sign.
couldn't
ordinance.
make, that sign was as big as our sign ordinance at the time allowed. When she had Holy Toledo and the sign was literally like this, because that was as big a sign as was allowed
Yeah.
down on Main Street.
Wonder if we've repealed.
Got in trouble for
because
beer
David
signs, I
said-
got-
Well, take a look.
David tried doing a sign ordinance. and-
Well, David tried doing, for lack of a better word, a sign ordinance that applied to everybody everywhere
That's
because of the timber unity situation.
because,
Okay,
what?
It didn't go through. That
No.
didn't follow.
Right, it didn't go through because we
Yeah,
were
that's
trying,
my
I think,
point.
in my opinion, and I think I said at
This
the
is
time. we're
one of
trying to
those
make it
ongoing
broad.
things like parking.
We need something with the
On
average
Main
individual.
Street.
Yeah,
We go through it
So-
every few years.
did we give you enough to at least get you
Yeah.
down the path?
I
Yeah.
think that'll get us started. We can
Yeah.
start
Okay,
putting something together and then bring it back to council for review.
Lisa.
all right, yes,
Is there actually a consensus or a motion to allow that sign to be hung by Lisa Watson?
There's a consensus,
I think there's a consensus.
Yeah, except for Jackie. Jackie said.
I mean, since
no,
we don't have a policy, she
read
doesn't need permission.
Anti-railroad.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that just.
That's my standing. We don't have a policy, so hang your sign.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
Don't make it hang
currently-
anywhere.
There is a sign, last time I drove by, there's a sign for Doll and the bus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bus is saying they're hiring.
Henry.
Nobody asked us, they
Well,
just
yeah.
hung them.
yep. And that's part of why we need to get the
Henry
policy.
Drive.
Yeah, the one that says that the field is market too. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the market's not even over.
I imagine once that's established, we'll need to print up metal signs and place them at each end of the fence. So people are aware things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Check with the.
I have a question.
Yes,
It's unrelated to that.
Okay.
We had a gentleman come in later. Sir, were you hoping to do a public comment or anything when you came in? Were you wanting to public comment or are you just observing?
yeah, public comment. Okay.
Okay,
You,
that's important.
thank you for interrupting where I was headed.
Well, you should have
So
thought
you
of
should
that.
have this job.
Mine,
So you
they
should
can
run,
buy.
you should run for this job.
She's gonna put up signs on the fence now.
Yeah, I am. Quick.
Sir, so I'm gonna go back, open public comment up real quick because of our are extenuating circumstances. Sir, if you can come up in the chair and just state your name for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, everybody, and good evening. My name is Charles Fisher. I live on Lincoln Way, Northwest Lincoln Way. And there has been 4 accidents on Lincoln Way since we've lived there, all in the corners. And the last one was last Friday morning. That's the second one that ended up in my yard. And it's speed. Well, on the police report, it says traffic control device and the no malfunction boxes. Yeah, well, there's not one speed sign from Business 20 to Arcadia. And I would like to see 20-mile-an-hour speed signs. If they're 25, then the people are gonna be doing 30. And they just, I mean, the cars just fly. But that was my concern, is to get speed signs on Lincoln Way, Northwest Lincoln Way.
I think we can make that happen.
That would be great.
That's the city's.
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
City, okay, because
Yep.
we can do that.
Yep.
This county would be a whole.
What- Refresh my memory, where is Lincoln Way?
The little substation going out of town before Dairy Queen,
Just off of Highway 20.
Oh,
Business 20,
okay,
and you turn and go straight up the hill.
like up by the old hospital.
Yes, we
Yes,
live
okay,
right,
that way.
right across from the old.
The old hospital road.
And a kid, he came down Friday morning. His mom said he wasn't speeding, but he went at 180 and went backwards through our place.
But he wasn't speeding.
No. But the police report, it says he was speeding.
Oh, yeah.
He said he just got brand new tires on his car and he wasn't speeding. I said, okay.
Never mind.
But either way.
I won't explain physics.
Slippery,
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
Okay.
So
But
would it
speed
be
signs on
okay if you-
Lincoln Way.
so we need some posted speed signs there.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
like to see 20.
So if we can
Because
go with the public works and
I-
such on as far as
Yeah.
police.
We can't
All that.
change
Yeah.
the speed zone through there, I don't think, but we can post what it's supposed to be.
We're allowed to change it up to
You know,
5.
we can change it now under state law. We can change it up to 10 miles an hour
Without doing
without doing
Oh.
safety studies or anything.
So if
So
it's
do we want
exceeded,
to-
Still a process.
Do we want to?
Process, but we don't have to go through a $40,000.
It's
Yeah.
35, but if you want it down to 25.
Chief, what's this?
I'd like to see it at 20 and that would keep them to 25.
Be posted?
If it's 25, they're gonna be doing 30.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
it's 35,
That's too bad.
35
Okay,
now.
so. when we
No, there's
okay,
there's not one sign.
There's no sign.
Right.
25.
Old hospital.
Do that 25 mile an hour, because then it would be the same as the rest of the road.
Arcadia is 25.
Yeah.
Yes, Lisa, can we help you?
That was dramatic.
I don't know what that was.
So do we want to
So-
move this to a decision item?
Oh, or the timer.
I.
Hang on.
There was a timer.
Discussion.
Oh, that's what that was. That's why we had to, sorry, sir, we rarely get anybody that goes beyond that 3 minutes, so we didn't know that the dramatic music was the cue for that was 3 minutes.
It is currently 25 miles.
Right there?
I just.
No, it's 25 going up Lincoln Way.
Oh, yeah, 25 right up Lincoln Way. but-
It's 35 coming around.
But apparently it's
Around, but then
45
Then it
coming
goes to
down.
25.
But he's talking about.
Talking
I know
We're
that, but
talking about on Lincoln Way.
Sorry, Jackie.
Lincoln Way 20.
Public Works, go take a look and see,
Yes.
and make sure that we do have appropriate signage, but we also are going to have to go through the process. If
Right.
we do want to review.
I agree with you. I think it should be 20. So let's look at that process, making that a 20 up around that way through to Arcadia.
I'd like to see 2 signs going south and 2 signs going
Yeah.
like.
Well, here, how's this? Because what I'd like to see is like a sign when you go up the hill,
Yeah,
okay? And then another sign when you get to the Arcadia corner.
yeah.
And then, right, and we put it on the intersections up there so people can't say I didn't see them.
Right. And there's a lot of people that walk, you know.
Yeah.
Too.
That's why I was
Too many
thinking
for 'em
20,
to be
because I've been up
speeding.
there before and there's people walking their dogs up there.
Yeah.
There's kids on bikes.
On your side of the road.
So, yeah, no, you're
Is there
spot on, sir. I didn't realize there wasn't any signs up there. Thank you.
for bringing that to us.
You're
That
welcome.
makes such a difference when people come in and let us know, because we can't know everything.
Yeah, this second wreck just kind of broke this camel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Sounds like it,
I
yeah.
can't imagine why.
In your front yard, how's your yard? They didn't take your house.
Ground fix came today and
No.
did
It was in hospital.
It's a mess.
Plus,
Yeah.
Right, so they start the
City
process.
manager to work with public works. City manager, public works.
Can I go on then?
You can,
Yes.
if you want to, you can, yeah.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah, if
have.
you really want to, you can stay.
We hope you're not- No, no.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
You had a great mood tonight, Tracy.
Yeah, I am, actually. Anyway, moving
All
on.
right, now we're into decision items. First up, direction on pre-implementation compliance measures for FEMA and floodplain areas. Go ahead, Mike. I will try to keep my mouth shut for a while.
This is why,
I don't know if
I think this is why our guest is in the room.
It's not gonna keep us, do you think?
So I didn't, our guest from the port, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't recommend a motion. The council could hopefully give staff direction for the city's choice on the three options. Really federal overreach, when you look at our current floodplain ordinance, it's there to protect people, right? It's there to prevent structures from getting in the floodway when there's a flood and taking out things. With the intention to protect threatened and endangered fish, the FEMA has proposed a new plan affecting the National Flood Insurance Program in Oregon. And the current proposal, called the Draft Implementation Plan for NFIP-ESA integration, requires local governments to develop new regulations before residents and property owners can be eligible for flood insurance. So what it's saying is, we have to choose one of these three options, or our residents aren't eligible to get flood insurance,
Blackmail.
and we're not eligible to get FEMA grants when there's
When we
flood
need that.
damage in a disaster situation.
Or ice storms, or.
What's interesting, what I think is interesting, and it's FEMA through the National Flood Insurance Program, and the state's fairly careful in what they say, but it's really the state of Oregon's Department of Land Conservation Development, DLCD, through its authority to regulate land use, that is requiring the city of Toledo and other cities and counties to adopt these what they're calling pre-implementation compliance measures related to compliance with the Federal Endangered Species Act, pending final rules from FEMA. So I'll point out that under the Endangered Species Act, if I get a biologist to say there's no taking of species, I don't need a permit. So I don't need a permit under the Endangered Species Act if there's no taking.
Right.
So what we have is FEMA's been sued again, and they're requiring cities and counties to either adopt these pre-implementation compliance measures, and really, they're not through the federal process. Their environmental impact statement for the National Flood Insurance Program has not been approved as satisfactory. So in the end, these are temporary things that may or may not satisfy the environmental requirements that were raised in this biop that NIMS and NOAA put out in 2016 that I read way back then as the planner, and little did I know that the pain would keep coming. So the option, so it's frustrating that, and you know, essentially they are holding us hostage.
Yeah.
And you know, it's also frustrating that the state is allowing, through its land use authority, is allowing this to happen.
Our state is begging them to do
The,
this.
the governor's written letters, the congressional delegation's written
Okay,
letters.
I need to clarify something for Tracy. Our state is not the one who's begging them to do this. Who's begging them to do this, okay, are the environmental groups and certain people within the agencies.
Okay, I'll give them that.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure, because the entire federal and state government has sent letters saying this is crap.
And really, if you read the slide deck that the state agency puts out, normally they collaborate with FEMA. FEMA just kind of
Yep.
put this on the state agency without any kind of collaboration. There's no, I've sat with much more qualified land use planners than myself and attorneys who have said, yeah, there's no coordination. It's not compliant with land use rules. And I know one planner up north that plans to write their staff reports to reflect that. And maybe we'll get an appeal to LUBA. And I, by the way, I told Justin to be honest with our staff reports, and to do the same thing. But I mean, it comes down to, they want us to prohibit new development in the floodplain. They want us to adopt a model ordinance, or they want us to use a permit by permit method requiring applicants to develop and meet habitat assessment standards using a biologist. So there's a long guide. So
Permit by
What was
permit
the second one?
basis.
the second one's a model ordinance, and I've drafted the model ordinance. I've sent the draft before you can have a public hearing on it. I drafted it by last Friday. Justin loaded it up called a PAPA you have to send it to DLCD within 45 days. Prior to any kind of public meeting on the ordinance. But there's a draft model ordinance that I did that's basically based on what they recommended. Although I've included, part of the problem is, you know, why we find this in a bad place is under state law. You remember measure 37, measure 49. They put those into some ORS provisions, and they really just relate to residential use or farm practices or forest practices. But so the cities and counties, you know, that's that whole thing, devaluing your property, right? So we have to give measure 56 notices. Arlene's compiled a list of everybody that's impacted, saying that their property value may be impacted, which gives them the notice to sue us.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and under state law, with those three areas, residential, farm, forest, you can waive that. You've either got to compensate them or waive the regulation. And two exceptions to not having to compensate, one is federal law. Well, anybody with a brain is gonna say, this isn't federal law yet. I mean, if I were gonna comply with the current federal law, I get a letter from biologists saying there's no taking, I don't have to get a permit under the ESA.
Right.
You know, this is their pre-implementation compliance measures that nobody's really called them on in court, but it's not federal law. It's not through the federal process.
That's a law. How can they withhold insurance for us not going along with it then? If it's not law, how can they implement that?
It's fraught with errors.
It's very
It's remiss. It's not developed.
So the other exception where you don't have to pay compensation is if it deals with life and safety. Well, I would argue our current floodplain ordinance deals with life and safety.
Yes.
This model ordinance, the amendments that they want us to make all deal with fish, life and safety of fish.
Yeah, we.
What
agree.
happened to filing a lawsuit to stop?
It
this?
has, so they're waiting
The
to see
exemption.
if, okay, they're trying to let the process play out, okay? So by the end of the month, they will file, depending upon whether or not they get the delay. Because that's what all the federal folks have asked for, delay this implementation. If they don't, if there's no response back from FEMA to delaying this, then the lawsuit's in the bag, ready to go.
And I would say at this point, there hasn't been. The governor sent out her letter saying delay. And then the next week I'm getting emails from FEMA saying which one of the three options, which class do you want to
Because
send?
FEMA has, okay, I'm gonna now open my mouth. FEMA has routinely ignored everybody in the state of Oregon. Okay, on every level about everything.
Yep.
And part of my frustration, no offense to you professional planners and no offense to Justin,
I'm
a
not,
lot of you are sheep. Because when I'm on the FEMA buyout coordination call for LOC, I got a lot of people on that call just saying, whatever, we can fix it. No, you can't. This is a political maneuver. This is not about saving fish. Okay, this is all about saving face. This has absolutely nothing to do with saving a single salmon in any single.
this is trying to sidestep their liability.
Exactly.
In the additional
Now,
lawsuit. And
for
what they're,
everyone in this room to understand,
what they're doing is putting it
the
on us.
port,
Mhm.
wait, don't ports sit on, ports sit on water, right? The port,
Yeah.
because we handle all of their land use. Okay, the port can sue us. Okay, because they won't be able to do their job. It has been reported at least 2 jurisdictions on the Oregon coast that the Coast Guard, not the Coast Guard, the Corps of Engineers currently has put dredging operations for next summer
yeah.
on hold because they don't
Can't touch
know, they don't know how this is gonna play out. Because no one has even given them,
Because if FEMA gets their way, we can't touch
well,
it.
it's not just that.
Penny Malone.
FEMA has not given them clear direction. Does that mean we can dredge? Because you muddy the water when you dredge, plain and simple.
How much hope do we have for a reversal of some of this nonsense with our new administration coming in?
See, the problem is that you can have all the political will we want. Okay, because I mean, our entire delegation, everybody, Democrats, Republicans, the whole 9 yards have told them essentially change it or
They're
stick it.
just not listening.
They're just not listening to anybody. Okay, so that's why I'm pretty sure we're gonna have the lawsuit. And then I'll be coming back to y'all for an authorization for us to write them a check for $5,000 as our part of the lawsuit. Okay,
Yep.
this whole thing,
And
you know, how do I say this? You spend, in this case, 26 years of your life trying to show people that just because you say you're with the government doesn't mean it's always bad. And then this comes along.
Yeah.
And it makes you just want to punch somebody.
well, and so by December 1st, I have to write a letter because I'm the floodplain administrator for
Yep.
the city. And unfortunately, I wish I would have told Arlene to change that this last time.
My name down and just say F off.
I was not smart enough, and told her, yeah, don't bother changing.
So here's the question.
But
And I wanna
December
put-
1st, I have to write them a letter
That's what I'm
saying
getting at.
what we're gonna
So
do.
here's my question to everyone, okay? The safest method, at least in my opinion, to save our flood insurance program for the folks we live here, right when we're coming into the times of floods,
Right?
right? Okay, is do the case by case. Tell them we do it case by case. And we leave it at that until we get further notice. Because if we don't answer it, or we pick one of the other ones, at least in my opinion, we're screwed.
Now, here's the question.
So
We pick one
Well,
and then, of course, shit hits fan. And we need to change, are we able to change to a different option later?
Oh, yeah.
So-
Because we could later on say, now that we have more clarification from FEMA on what exactly this means and how this is actually gonna work, and it actually fits, we might do a model ordinance.
Okay.
Okay, it's just by doing case by case, it is my hope that at least over the next few months, we won't get a case.
if we do nothing by December first, the model ordinance is the default. Or the case by case is the default. But the problem with, you know, the
Is that-
case by case,
Is that every time someone replaces a door?
yeah,
It
so
can be,
everything.
that's,
can be.
And
Yeah.
think of our.
but we don't ever
almost
do
everything's in
permits for
flood.
that already, right?
The model ordinance is not gonna allow you to do impervious surface. You're not gonna be able to pave it. You've got a house in the floodplain, you wanna put a little addition on,
Can't
too
do that.
bad.
Okay, so,
You
but
can't
here's
do the
my.
foundation.
You can't do fill.
Yes, I
You get-
know, and I know that I am on mic. I know that we're being recorded. Listen to me very carefully. If we go case by case, the only cases that will be brought to us are those that are of a question already in our code. We don't go out looking for things.
Right.
Okay, so if somebody changes their door, I don't care, and I don't think anybody else cares. It's not part of our code.
Yeah, because you don't need a
Okay.
permit for it.
If you want to put in an ADU, and our current code says you can put in an ADU, and it doesn't require you to get and it doesn't require you to go get a permit for X flood, if you're in the floodplain, then it doesn't raise the red flag. It's only, but with the case by case, there has to be a trigger for it. And the trigger for it has to be within our current ordinances.
Is that correct?
the only problem with that is
There's a hand raised.
you can't do an impervious surface. But under the permit process now, or
Under the model code, you can't do,
Under the model code,
not our current code,
under the model code, I drafted a couple extra provisions, one
but they
making.
don't even have to come talk to us to do it now. So what would trigger that?
Okay.
Arlene,
What,
Andrea.
Andrea, sorry. I can't read it well from here. I just see A's.
now you can see it.
Oh, wait, can you hear me
Now
now?
on a big screen. Yes,
Oh, okay, great. So Andrea Formal, Georgia Pacific, Mayor Council, I just wanted to raise the question, on GP's behalf, because we've been running into this quite a bit with a lot of our projects that we are trying to do. As you all know, GP is in a state of, investment in our facility and continue to try and, support Lincoln County here, but we're trying to understand from our end what's included in scope and what is not in scope. And especially as that pertains to us, as we're in a large industrial facility grandfathered in that area, but we're well within the floodplain. So just something that I wanted to raise on our behalf as you're taking all of this into your own consideration.
so Andrea, I have a question.
Sure.
So, remember a few weeks back, I asked you to check with the Washington plant if they were under these current FEMA restrictions?
Yep, and I did raise that with our attorney and they have not gotten back to me yet. It sounds like it is something that has been implemented up there. As far as how they're implementing it, I don't have good
Yeah,
guidance.
that's part of my question.
Mhm.
Because according to my friends on the Oregon-Idaho border, they're not implemented on the Idaho side.
Okay.
This 170-foot setback.
my understanding is Washington, Oregon, and next we're moving to California.
Yeah, So in other words, we're once again violating the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Just saying.
Institutions.
Constitutions. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Rod, council.
I did see your email, Andrea, and we'll get together shortly.
Great, thank you.
So to cover ourselves right now, if we do the case by
And
case.
I
we'd be able
And,
to-
and I will add that the way the land use system works in Oregon, it's if when the application is submitted is the rules that apply. So even if it's an incomplete application, if there's an application for a floodplain permit now, we're going to
Be under the existing rules.
be under the existing rules,
Not the new.
not the new rules. So
But if you wanna do
so if
anything,
you own something in the
Perfect, yeah.
floodplain and you wanna put in fill to raise the elevation, or you wanna do other things, it's best to come and submit an application now,
Before December 1st.
before December 1st.
But, for example, you don't require, at least if I remember correctly, we don't require a permit to pave your driveway.
You do not.
So, but that's what I'm getting at, right? So it's not gonna, if you don't have to do an application for something, this isn't gonna trigger it.
Are you sure? Because it seems like that's their intent.
Oh, it may be their intent, but it's the law. And
But
I'm,
how are they gonna know if there's no payment?
That's what I
And
want.
what if there's a FEMA person
Like,
here, like,
for argument's sake, we'll just use my house because I'm out of the floodplain and I can say that. If I was to extend my pavement in my driveway, only paper trail is gonna be my bank card to the concrete people and the construction people that are coming to do that work. But if there's no
There's no
work permit
process.
needed for the city, FEMA's never gonna know that I did that work.
Counselor, when FEMA comes to look through our program to make sure we're complying, you're not invited that day.
That's
Probably
probably
shouldn't
a
invite
good
me
idea.
either.
And if we don't do anything,
So December 1st is kind of the deadline. Case by case is the default, which is interesting because if you're gonna require a biologist, you've got this guide and you're gonna require the biologist to submit this report.
I get that.
You'd have-
Our ordinance, we also
You'd have
have.
criteria in an ordinance and we don't.
Okay,
It just feels like they have a bunch of biologists that want to make money for it.
If we don't do anything by next summer, that's when we'll truly be in default.
right. So that's the other part that has gotten lost in all of this, is that the real drop dead date is the end of July next year. Okay, they're trying to shove it down our throats, scare us all to death, and boy, they've done a good job of that. Okay, but the real drop dead date is July 31st.
Good, moving on.
Okay?
So we'll go case by case.
So that's why my suggestion, okay, is case by case.
And I did, in the model ordinance, I did create my own findings of fact in a section that the council is making findings, and another section that before we get stuck with a bill, before we get stuck with a judgment against us in litigation, we can waive the regulation. And I know that DLCD is probably looking at that right now and probably real unhappy, but that's what I submitted.
so I have a question and maybe it's silly.
No silly questions.
Yeah.
Not in this realm.
So you said if we don't sign anything December 1st or whatever, it goes automatically to the case by case.
Right.
So is it in our best interest to let that happen and us not sign anything? If we sign something that says, yes, we're going to go case by case, later on, would that make it look like Toledo accepted it because we did that? Would that affect us in the lawsuit? I understand it's a really
I
fine
know.
little difference,
Good question.
but I feel like it almost shows like we're accepting it and we're
Yeah.
going along with it if we actually accept it, but if
Make
we.
a choice.
If we make
Well,
the
but
choice.
no
make a
choice is a
choice.
choice, and that's the only reason why I said
plan
what I
to
said.
write a letter
I
that's
just-
pretty
I'm-
pointed and a lot of the issues we discussed
Well,
that to submit on December
I
first.
don't think we should do anything before the absolute hard-nosed deadline because I don't think we should comply with an illegal order.
Yeah, I agree.
We agree.
Yes. Things
Yeah.
could change by
Hey,
then.
council, are we in consensus on that little statement?
Yes, yeah,
I see a lot of heads
yeah,
nods.
it
Do
feels
nothing.
icky to even say, let's do case by
Guilt by
case.
association.
So
Yeah,
I
I'm just.
take a look into that, see if they can use if we select case by case, it's a nod of ascension
Yeah,
to the whole
I
thing.
just don't wanna.
Because if it is, I don't want that.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, I
No,
don't know,
no, you're
but.
good, you're good.
And it's also important to our citizens to know that we are taking a stand.
Absolutely against
And,
this, yes.
and if anybody sees a decision in a public meeting or a document where DLCD has said, yeah, go ahead with the pre-implementation compliance measures, please send that to me.
I will.
And the other
Yeah,
the other municipalities are kind of doing something.
It all depends.
And it would be, could we check and see what our neighbors are doing?
I was curious about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Newport is in on all the same calls I'm on. They're still deciding on whether or not they want to join the lawsuit. So that's where they're at on that end.
The county,
They are, I'll be honest, it sounds like they're really hanging their hat on FEMA backing down, at least from the December first deadline. Okay. Which I'm trying to understand. I've had this argument with them now for 2 months, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Debbie, you're here, you're hardly ever here. We're glad you're here.
And
What
a
does the
huge
port say?
smile on your face.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council. I'm so happy.
Yeah, you have to
I'll
step
it
up
here.
because it gets on the mic. Yes, you do.
We need your input.
I'm so happy you're all taking this very seriously. It does affect everything the port does. But it doesn't only affect the port, it affects all the neighbors that have property along the river. So this is a really big deal. I would report, I've gone to Oregon Public Ports Association meetings and Pacific Northwest Waterways Association meetings. They're taking this very seriously and will be working on a lawsuit also, just challenging the legality of the whole issue. It's a really big deal and, basically shuts us down. We can't develop anything at our shipyard.
Yep.
We can't develop anything down here. We're done.
Well, and if you can't dredge, I mean, eventually
If we can't
the
dredge,
she'll tap and you can't even get up here.
And we have a major port. I mean,
Yeah.
Yaquina Bay is a major safe port for a lot of things, not just the fishing industry.
Yes.
It's for
Well, and
NOAA,
this is why I'm
the Coast
confused,
Guard.
why Newport's not up in arms.
Well,
Okay, because if they want that commercial dock to be the commercial dock they're looking for, it's gonna have to be dredged on a regular basis.
Oregon only has 3 deep, it's a.
Deep water port.
Deep water river and ports, and the Yaquina is one of them.
Lincoln County
Yeah.
passed a resolution that they were gonna do the ordinance and directed staff to do as
Oh, of course.
quick as they could.
Well, I was supposed to try and keep my mouth shut when you got onto this topic.
That was the commissioners. Huge
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah, that was the commissioners.
You too, Kate, all right.
I have nothing good to say about our
So-
county commissioners.
So if we just do nothing and let that December first thing go, then this.
Yeah, just
case
double
by-
check into that,
case by-
Mike,
Case
just to
by
make sure that-
case then would be implemented,
Yeah.
and that would be okay with the
But-
port too.
It would be.
Well,
I mean,
I
don't think any of
none of it's okay.
thank you,
it's not
thank you.
okay, but
I think I'm afraid of the model ordinance because like we found out before with your existing current model ordinance is it doesn't give you any leeway, any room for common sense, any room, yeah, to use your discretion. So, case by case seems like it might be allow for the most discretion, I guess, but.
Well, what
You
if
better be
you,
putting in a lot of applications before December 31st, huh? Or first.
what if you collaborated with the attorney and then before December 1st, we're gonna have another meeting, then we can bring this back if we had to.
Collaborated with them on what?
On the other ports and such, you might get some more information.
Oh.
He's gonna
Yeah.
get some more information, get the information and say, okay, instead of waiting, yes, let's do this case by case. So then we have an opportunity later on, we can repeal it.
Because, and
Yes.
correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the Port of Astoria trying to expand their stuff? Expand their workings up there?
Yes, they are.
I would really be interested to see what they're saying about this.
Coos Bay, ooh. what they-
Oh, Okay, I am really good friends with North Bend and Coos Bay mayors. Let's just say my ear gets a little singed when we talk. Especially after, that area has received how many millions of dollars to try and expand their
Yeah.
port facilities? Yeah.
I think our floodway is different here than it is in Newport, though.
That's
right?
true.
You know,
There's a floodway that presumes that if it floods, everything's gonna come up the river. And so we're a designated floodway and they're not. And so it's more difficult for us to.
But it's being, okay, this is the part that's getting lost in this. It's presuming the high water, they're taking the high tide water mark and then going 170 feet from that mark, which that affects most of South Beach, that affects almost all of, look at it this way.
Look at Alpine.
Stand in the middle of 8th Street and look 170 feet to either side. Because 8th Street's part of a floodplain.
So 170 feet up from the floodplain, that includes my house then?
Not,
It's
but
No,
just
no,
out.
No,
no. If it goes up a hill, okay,
it's still 170 feet.
170 feet, yeah.
As the crow flies.
Yep.
So that means if I bought that property below me and wanted to put a barn there,
You can't.
Nope.
No barn.
Thanks, Debbie.
Except if you build it.
as a boat?
Yeah.
I'm glad we
Yeah,
could
do
make
it
her
on
smile.
Please, and they can just
Yes,
get
Chief.
my.
That includes police birds.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
That's why I used 8th Street as my example.
Tower.
Yeah, that 170 feet comes right to the bottom of my property. So everything I look out from my house is all floodplain and dead, yeah. I'm planning on that when they have the 9 point. So,
Be good time, isn't it?
so Mike, did you get your
You know what to do.
marching orders? Did you get your marching orders?
Yep.
Okay.
Lisa,
Lisa, any questions that you need for the minutes?
I
Okay,
still want to see the draft.
all right.
ordinance.
We'll move on to the next item. Approve annual salary increase for finance director, city assistant, city manager. Lisa?
Mayor, council, just to quickly summarize the council report in your packet. Amanda was hired a year ago in October, as assistant city manager, finance director. And currently with Doug out on leave, she is serving as city manager pro. Her anniversary came up on October 9th, and traditionally, the city manager would be approving her salary increase, but since we don't have that step, we wanted to bring that to the council for that consideration. And so she's currently at step 3, and with a salary increase, it would go up to step 4.
I want to discuss something else while we're talking about this, and I think it's a part of the picture.
Okay.
Not only Amanda, but our entire department has had to step up in ways that they would not normally have to because of the issues that we are having. I think they should be compensated for that. I don't know how. But we need to do something. And I think this is, personally think this is an appropriate first step. It's something that needs to be done. But I don't feel it's enough for the whole picture that's happening.
Okay.
Um,
Would you like that to be a action item at a future date?
I at least want it to be a discussion item.
Okay.
Because I think each of us might have different ideas. We would need to know what kind of a budget we have for that. And so I would like us to all be thinking about that. And then I would like it to come back as a discussion item at the next meeting if possible.
Lisa,
I do have a question because you said department. So were you meaning department directors, the administration department? I would like clarification on that.
City Hall.
Well, yeah, I don't know what's fair, and that's the other thing too, because it's specifically affecting everybody. It's not just City Hall.
mhm.
And like I said, I just don't know what it is, but I keep coming back to, we have our staff that are doing way more above and beyond what they were hired to do, above and beyond what anybody should be able to rationally ask them to do. And they need some sort of appreciation for that.
So,
More than a pizza party.
Yeah, and so anyway, I just want us to be thinking about that.
so,
Sorry.
so,
I would, council, I'd just point out, sorry to interrupt, Mayor, step 4 is for her is still less than what the department heads are getting paid.
Yeah. And that,
I am one to clarify, one salary grade above the other department heads with that assistant city manager title, but everyone else is topped out.
okay,
And I was brought in at 3, so I'm just moving, so I am currently earning less than our other department heads.
so
That's,
how about, okay, so why don't we have that, have this as a discussion item for our next council meeting, okay? And that way we can prepare a proper decision item for the meeting after that. Because I think you make a good point, and it's something we need to be aware of and we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so on with this item.
Oh, wait.
Oh, gee, whoa.
So is the council going to make a motion for Amanda's salary at least?
yes, we are.
That's where I'm headed. That's
Yeah.
where I'm headed.
Sorry,
You didn't let me say, do I have a motion?
I apologize.
That's okay. Do I have
I
a
make a
motion?
motion to approve the step increase to step 4 at $9,002 a month for finance director or assistant city manager Amanda Carey, retroactively effective as of October 9th, 2024.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Frank, seconded by Tracy to approve a step increase to step 4 at $9,002 per month for finance director, assistant city manager Amanda Carey, retroactively effective as of October 9th, 2024. I will take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
yes.
Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Mix,
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia,
Yes, sir.
and I vote yes. Motion carries 7-0. All right, now we have the added item is to whether or not to extend for 6 months the parking permit to John Robinson on A Street.
I move to extend the parking permit for John Robinson on A Street for an additional 6 months.
I second it.
Been moved by Tracy, seconded by Kim to extend the temporary parking permit to John Robinson on A Street for an additional 6 months. I'll take a roll call vote. Counselor Kaufman,
Yes.
Counselor Strong,
As long as it's for the construction period, yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Counselor Sylvia.
Yes, sir.
All right. Council President Bush,
Yes.
Counselor Mix.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right. Next up, committee updates. And reports and comments. I'll start with Lisa. Anything new and exciting in your world?
I don't have anything current.
Okay. Mike?
So we've got the Officer Sumter, sign that'll be delivered here shortly.
Yay!
We're just getting some final, pieces together. I've got, pins and keychains of the Officer Sumter sign that'll be available at that ceremony.
Okay.
OSP has agreed to be the honor guard for that particular situation.
Good.
It's very fitting because Officer Sumter died protecting and saving the life of the trooper. So I just need to get a hold of that honor guard again. He's supposed to get a hold of me once he get authorization from his captain. I haven't heard back from him yet. So hopefully we'll have it by the end of the month. So I'll give a 2-week lead out. Obviously, the family wants 2 weeks at least.
Right.
And, so that way everybody will be aware of what's gonna happen. We're gonna try to make sure that the family, can come to it, so it may not be, at a normal time.
Whatever works for that family works for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Other than that, thank you so much for listening to my employees earlier. I really appreciate that.
We're gonna find a way through this, Mike, one way or another. Mike Adams. Oh, do we have any department heads online? Okay. Mike Adams.
It's just a lot going on. And I think I'll end that as my report.
Okay. Amanda?
Mayor and council, I do have a few items. I'll start with good news. Well, nothing real bad. First, the city of Toledo did receive a safe premium dividend in the amount of $8,700. So we get that for, yay. Yeah, yes, we got money back off our premium for having been lower than what they billed us for, in a nutshell. So that's a good thing. Second year in a row, we've got some money back, so that offsets our costs there.
That's good, but it's also bad, because that also means that it's because our payroll came in at lower numbers than otherwise was anticipated. So that's why.
Yeah, the premiums are calculated based on staff, that, so yeah.
It also means our people have been good.
Yeah, it means there's a couple components, but so. Right now, we are down on claims. There are a couple of pending issues that could impact us this next year. But yeah, we have had low staffing, which also, so we budget and anticipate projected salaries in each workers' compensation category. There's codes that we pay off of with our payroll, and that's how they project our premiums. So when we come in under that, because we're short-staffed, we get some of that money back. So.
It's not a great payoff, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish we were full-staffed, and that wasn't the reason why.
I think we all wish we were full staff.
Yeah. But we got some of that back. We did start this one for Mayor Cross. I have asked staff and nobody has been able to answer this, so I'm hoping you have some knowledge on this one because it's addressed. It came in Doug's email, but it's addressed to Honorable Rodney Cross, Mayor. We were awarded a $70,000 grant from Business Oregon for Safe Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund, Mill Creek Forest Stewardship Plan, and Siletz River Critical Area Protection. So we got it. I don't know what it's for.
Okay, so back in 2000 and it's either 8 or 9, we decided to take all of our Mill Creek watershed and put it under a professional folks to take care of it and to make sure that it stayed clean and it stayed pristine because it's a water source.
That was the algae that.
And weeded properly.
We did it proper, right, and
Then-
they got in there, they did their job. They took care of the algae bloom that had been in there for years that I got to hear all sorts of wonderful, colorful stories from the water treatment plant. But the idea for this is to keep that going. That's what that money is for,
Okay.
is to keep to make sure that that stays funded and stays kept on as a watershed.
Okay. I'll reach out to you to plan a time so we can
Yep.
discuss details.
Good.
I did want to.
I'm glad we got it.
So we got it.
Yep.
So.
So that was applied for when, how long ago?
Well, so we reapplied for it a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
because it's time for them to go in and do another
Okay.
bunch of work. Because it's done about every 10 years or so.
Maybe they already were. I saw people up off.
Yeah, we still, I
Broadway,
mean,
their-
well, when I
their
say a
wide
bunch of work,
roads
that's
up
where they
under
gotta go
there.
in and.
Is that Lions Park?
With alders and stuff, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
1,000 lights?
No, Lions. I'm not familiar with all the
Okay, no,
Mill Creek is.
Thousand
where-
Lights
Mill Creek
is-
is the reservoir,
Yeah.
way up there.
No, I was thinking when you said people working, I was asking if that was Lions Park
Oh.
area.
I don't know, I know, they're just, there's a contractor up there doing work off, widening the roads and doing this and cleaning out the ditches and. And it was just off the road from, down the road, down the hills, the Mill Creek Reservoir. So I didn't know if that was what was going on.
That could be the private folks.
That could be.
Well, any more good news?
Yeah, so a couple, well, at the grant. I had a meeting week before last with a couple other city managers. I was talking to some of the folks that I meet with. We have a monthly coastal city managers meeting that's hosted by the COG. And I got together with some of the group at LOC and the Yachats, Waldport and Newport city managers are working on, and it's currently actively Yachats and Newport are getting grants and working to bring a trolley between the cities that would run, help with tourists.
I thought Yahat scrapped that idea.
That was the previous
Yeah.
council. The new council, the council of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Revived it.
See, I was just reading something on that, like, not even a month ago, where
Really?
they were saying that, no, they're not gonna do that. They're buying like a bus or something instead.
Well,
They weren't gonna invest in the trolley because that was too expensive, that they were gonna do
No,
a
no,
bus
no.
instead.
Bus, but
It's a-
it's, so I don't know if anyone's familiar with what Monmouth Independence just did. And possibly could you pull up the website maybe?
Which one?
Real quick,
So, when-
Google Monmouth.
They're talking about it, probably not talking about,
So,
like, we think of trolley.
It's just
Frisco,
cutesy, yeah,
It's a
so,
bus that
so
looks
it's
like a
actually
bus.
a bus.
But it just looks like.
Like
But
we
it's-
had out at the LOC.
Why don't they just call it a bus?
Because trolley has so many more.
I wanna call it a ball.
Yeah, it looks like everybody know we're retarded. We can't have a difference between a bus and a trolley. Yeah, come sit with us.
This has been wildly successful because
Jumps around, I couldn't
Independence,
even-
they have gotten grants to fund this.
It's
And-
charming.
It's charming, it is.
That's the idea.
I believe it would be a tourist draw.
See, there it is.
So this is what Monmouth Independence did the last, it's been a year in, I believe now. And they actually get, if I'm remembering this data right, 300 to 400 riders a day.
Holy crow.
It's
So let me just say
wildly
that
popular.
one of our officers, Officer Cross,
Mhm.
really wishes they'd have had this when he was going to Western.
Yeah.
Because as he puts it, it's a hell of a long walk from campus to Winco.
Yes. So Yachats is already working on a grant. They're coordinating with the so we don't want to create new departments, that kind of thing. We already have Lincoln County Transit who operates buses, so we don't want to recreate the wheel. So the other cities are trying to partner with the county transit to see if they could provide the operators per se and the maintenance, but they're working together to get this trolley. So I said, if you guys do that, include Toledo in the discussion at least, so we have the option if that trolley went from Yachats to Waldport to Newport, possibly would council be interested in that coming to Toledo?
There's already transit buses
Yeah,
coming
there's,
to Toledo. Why do we need to
that's-
add another wheel? I mean,
3 times a day.
yeah, they're already making a regular trips to Toledo. I don't.
This is more of a tourist.
It's more of a,
It's about tourism.
It's about.
thinking about growing Main Street.
Tourism. So
All with the linear
It's just-
comments.
I know, Tracy,
it's just a cutesy thing that the other cities are doing.
it's an idea.
It's just,
then are
I want to float.
Are you saying that you would apply for a grant to be a part of that or?
Maybe.
We
We
maybe.
gotta decide
we
that
don't-
down the road. That's why she's saying if it gets any farther down the road, then we might look at it at that.
What the traction, this is very preliminary, just if they're going to be porting people around,
You haven't committed to anything.
No,
it's
there's
just
no.
having a
discussion
conversation.
She's just giving us a heads up that it might be
That
coming down our.
Discussion is coming down the pike. That is all, not committing any.
Yeah, so let's not make any assumptions, see what comes down our way and
Yep.
go from there and I'll not call people retarded.
Yeah.
for another 5 minutes.
Obtaining the grants to get the trolley, all of that, so. Yeah. So it would just be, if the cities are doing that, if we want to partner with them, we'll look at that at that time. It's another thing to try it if tourists are using this and go in between, but we want to maybe.
Well, and
So they come here, or they could go there.
this,
when they're-
this side of the table came up with a great idea, put it on the Bay Road.
That's what I was
They wrote
thinking too.
trail, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something the other coastal cities are working on.
So
It's good to be
it would be
included.
good to know what's going on and
What's
whether or
going
not we
on.
want to
I'm
get.
glad you threw your hat in and don't forget about.
Don't forget about us if it gains
Yeah.
traction, just so we have the option to see if we want to be on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's-
Anything's worth a
Next.
try, or
Yes.
a look.
Okay, so this is more process, but I'm actually really glad we got this in place. So one thing I've been trying hard to work with staff on is to streamline processes. We have a lot going on right now as it is. We have several new managers, department heads in place. They're all trying to get a handle on things. And one thing that happens very frequently with our public works department is we get calls all day long, both to city hall, to desk phones, to cell phones, people walking through the door asking to talk to public works. Specifically, they're trying to reach out to Brian. And he can't be at everyone's beck and call. And then we have, right? And then we have people, you know, they reach out online, they reach out to counselors. So in the effort to streamline and facilitate the requests that come in, whether it be a pothole, a tree limb, whatever. And we're giving them an avenue to channel those requests so that staff has the opportunity to review those, to parcel them out to the proper staff and to prioritize those into our workload. So for that, we had Lisa create an online form. I want to bring this to council's attention. If you go to our homepage, we have a button there right on the landing page that's called Public Works Requests. Trying to make it simple and streamlined.
All right, I'm gonna stop you right there. Most of the people that call me, they're not gonna get online and do that because they're older and they're unfamiliar with it, and that's why they picked up the phone.
And that's okay. We're not gonna not take calls, of course.
Okay.
We just would like to, as much as possible, direct people through the proper channel. We're not gonna refuse to speak to people.
Okay.
But we
That
do.
same breath, if they call us, we can always, and if they're elderly, we can always pick up our computer and fill it out for them.
Yeah.
Cause you're still providing that service for them instead of coming in and doing the talk.
No one's we're not saying this is the only way we're going to accept requests. It's just we're trying to streamline this as much as possible.
This will cut it down a lot.
Down a lot to a manageable level for
Yeah.
the staff.
Yeah,
And this way, if Brian hears about something personally
Yeah,
and he doesn't do it,
yeah.
you know, somebody's on Facebook screaming, the
Yes.
city doesn't care about me, they
Oh, yeah.
didn't do this. Now, we have a way to keep track of everything.
It is, it's so also because, you know,
Keep
people
everybody
make a remark
on-
in passing, they call, you're running around, it's easy to drop a ball or forget something.
Absolutely.
So this way we have it documented somewhere, it comes to staff and we can track it, so things aren't getting missed and we can prioritize it and address it as we're able. It's gonna
And
be.
probably we can catch, if you don't mind me saying, things that the city shouldn't be doing, that not ethical, not legal, whatever, and say, oh, you know what, we
Or
can't do
not a
this
part
and
of
this,
our,
or not
not
part of
what
our,
we do.
right, that we can stop it and not
Yeah.
leave it up to department heads to figure out if that's something they should be doing or not.
Yes.
So
Like-
if it wasn't Public Works and it got submitted in here, you can direct it to that department.
Yes, yeah, it's gonna come in via email and our staff can direct it to the appropriate person or department.
Yeah, so if somebody sent you a picture of some old jalopy that's been there for 6 months and you want it gone, you could submit it.
We could send it to code enforcement because that would
They
go
can
to
turn
public
around and
works,
send
it.
but.
But if it's not on fire, then we can get the fire department.
Yeah, we don't have those kind of things coming in there. But-
Stolen.
Only if it's after the fire,
Yeah.
it's still sitting there, then call.
you know what, stay out of my yard, Stu.
You're damn
So-
big.
So our citizens now have the
Gotten out
opportunity.
lately.
They have something available to them online to go in.
I think that's awesome.
They could
Yeah.
give us their contact information so that we can follow up with them. You know, give us the information, the location of whatever it is they're talking about. describe it, and they can also attach photographs if they have those. And then we can follow up about that.
That's very.
It's much more
Yeah.
professional.
And
It
you do
is.
Anonymously?
No, we
No.
do require a name, because how are we to follow up with them?
Yeah.
if nobody-
Yeah,
we don't know
follow
who it
up
is.
to your name's anonymous.
You're in trouble there, Stu.
What's your?
Email doesn't work that way, Sue.
You could create
Any-
a fake one.
Anything else, Amanda?
So yeah, I wanted to share that with council, and also I know sometimes members of the public approach you as well, so this is a place you can direct them. If they
Right.
reach out to you with whatever it is, you can point them
Or
here.
like Frank said, fill
Can
out
I-
the form for them.
And you're welcome.
Can I make one request? Can we have this in our next city newsletter, that we now have this tab, have a little spiel about it, say, hey, guess what, we have a new resource.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah, we've been working on it internally just to iron out any bugs.
Yeah, we kinda
And then
slip
we were
soft
gonna
a little
go.
I'd like to hype it up a little bit when it is, ready,
So-
and let people know, hey, we've got a new resource, this is another way to connect with us.
Send me, before the 15th, send me a little note about it so I can make sure to put it in my message.
Okay,
Because
I was gonna have
apparently
a
people
separate-
read that,
Okay.
so.
Yeah,
all right.
I always read it, but.
I do.
Yeah, redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I ask people, so what else was in your water bill? Did you see the thing about and they're like, what? So,
You mean all that stuff I threw away with the envelope?
there you go. Yeah, that stuff.
Great. At least I didn't have to read that part tomorrow.
So we still have another meeting after this.
Yeah, anything else?
That's all I have for tonight.
Okay, so we'll go to council. Tracy,
I think I have anything to add.
Jackie,
Nothing.
Stu.
Oh, let's get out of here.
We can go yet. Nothing? Jackie?
Break.
Frank?
I just have one thing. I won't get into the whole conference. Tracy saw it. I don't know if there's anything the city or police department can do, but there has been an awful lot of assholes passing the school buses while their kids are getting on and off.
I saw another one this morning.
18-wheelers going around them, almost hit some kids over there by the duck park. I mean, something's gotta be done because these kids are gonna get hit. And people are just going right around, lights flashing.
It was the 18-wheeler that, I literally face palmed myself. It's like, you have to be kidding.
And once one of our pedestrians is hit, it's too late.
Yep.
So something, I don't know what can be done, but I just wanted to bring it to the attention because something's gotta be done to protect our kids.
Don't buses take pictures of the.
See, that's what I thought too. And
Well, one of them
do you
is.
know, Mike, if they still have,
What's the impression of that?
They have video, but one of the comments I saw was it was a special needs bus and the bus driver was actively trying to buckle one of the kids in when they whip around. And
Gotcha.
if they're too quick for the camera, they're not gonna get the license plate.
gotcha.
Most of it is inside the bus to protect the kids on the inside. I don't know about the outside.
Okay.
you say, Chief?
I was just saying, I was on the impression that audio or video as well, but.
I know what you're talking about, because she had said something about she was gonna take pictures or something and bring it to the police, because I had commented on it and she snapped at me until she already had it handled.
I wonder
So-
if there's nothing legally that can be
I
done.
suggested.
Yes, there
was
is.
I-
No, but like, if we have a truck and the truck information, if we could take it to Andrea.
Well, it's not
Okay,
just
those are
semis, it's
contractors,
also.
so she's
yeah,
not gonna
but-
be able to do it.
But I mean,
Oh, no.
but she could say you're not welcome at this mill anymore. Yeah.
So in their contract, GP has a lot of pull with the
Yeah,
trucking
yeah.
companies.
That's what I was wondering.
Because there are so many trucking companies that want those contracts,
Okay,
and
Rod,
that's what they use.
I'm sorry, but it is not the mill's job to
No, no,
police our
no, no,
streets.
No, you're missing my
I'm
point.
just thinking as an added
Okay.
Okay, but
extra.
that's not the only person. That was one
Yeah.
truck driver. There's
Right.
lots of people
I
doing
know.
it.
Cars.
I know what you're saying.
Well, then stop arguing with me then. if you
Well,
know what I'm
makes
saying.
sense. Maybe I won't.
If we
All right,
can
kids.
resolve that by, if there's a certain spot that it's happening at or something.
That's been the issue though.
Yeah.
Is that it's not in one.
It's all over, it's happening all over.
All over.
My
It's all over.
suggestion
It's out
was,
on Sturtevant, it's out on East Slope, it's out on Business 20.
yeah, it's everywhere. I don't
As long
know,
as they've got the red lights and such going. then
Mike,
they
go around.
do you have any suggestions?
Yeah.
I don't know legally if my suggestion was, cause it'd stop everybody if the bus turns on their lights, turns out to stop and then pulls into the middle of the frickin' rows. Is there a law preventing them from doing that? Because it'll stop every single car, bike, whatever from going around them because can't nothing get by.
Have some idiot try to go around.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of.
That's what I'm asking, if there's a way that that can be done.
And I've seen plenty of people pass on the left and
Yeah.
instead of the right, and then they hit a kid.
But that way they'd have to be up on the sidewalk to pass.
Yeah, one of these kids are gonna get hit and it's gonna be, like Tracy said, way too late. And
Well, and
we can't
part of
have it
this
way too
goes
late.
right back to the fact that we need to get more
Yeah,
officers.
I like the middle of the road thing temporarily.
I like that too, but I don't know
Yeah, could you find out, Mike? If we could authorize the buses to do that within the city limits, I know we don't have any jurisdiction outside of it, but.
And the question is, can they do it? Because they might
Wouldn't
have.
they be
the
willing
But that's what I mean, that's what I mean by detect.
There might be a civil liability issue.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. But, you know, we gotta do something, cause it's happening all over town, morning and afternoon.
Yep.
It's not even limited to one, one time or.
One person even said it happened right there in front of the police department too.
Well, if that happened, then we have camera, so.
That's all I have.
That's all?
Yep.
Okay. Since this is really our first meeting, what,
Did this need to be discussed? I meant to ask about it before. This, coming back about the tobacco thing from last year. It was at the very end of the packet.
Yeah.
oh,
It was just informational.
just
Okay,
FYI.
I just wanted to ask if.
Coming back from conference,
Flavored
I don't know how everyone else felt, but I thought it was a good conference. Thought there were a lot of good things this time around. I'll be honest, for a change, I didn't have any snooze fests. Things were fairly lively. I think a lot of good connections were made. I was really happy that we had the number of people there. I hope we can get more. I know your schedule makes it really hard for you to be able to do it.
Until, of course, the squirrel decided to cut the power to Ben.
That was
Yeah,
disappointing.
but yes, the fact that it actually was a squirrel, I'm sorry, I busted out laughing at that point. Okay, yes,
We were just getting ready
literally
to have a meeting.
a squirrel crossing power lines is what shut down half of Bend for 4 hours.
So nationally, squirrels are the #1 cause of outages. Just-
Really? I never would have guessed that.
It's kind of comical. One of the nationwide entities for electric
So
utilities.
wait for it to drop, you at lunch too, right?
Right? Yeah, it's a hot meal.
Still smoking.
The APPA, we use that organization quite often. It's the American Public Power Association, and when you're, some of the materials they sent out, a sticker, it said, "Ask me about squirrels."
Oh, my gosh.
It's such a big problem.
Did you know they had video of it?
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, they had that's what they put up later that night was, here's the squirrel that did the deed.
Their first comment was they found evidence of the squirrel, and that was where they
Yeah,
were.
and then they put up a video about an hour after that of that's the squirrel that is the evidence. I just want to say to all the citizens of Toledo, no matter who you voted for, we're still your neighbors, we're still your friends. Okay? Talk to people, be kind to people, please. Okay? Because no matter who you voted for, somebody's not happy today, somebody's ecstatic today. Just show mercy, show some kindness, right? Be a good neighbor. That's all I got. We'll take a 10-minute recess and then we'll go into executive session.